because that is what climate change does.
Okay, well, first off, it's a really good thing that we don't have global warming nonsense, that you charlatans and snake oil salesmen are always propagating for your own power. That's number one. Number two, you're completely wrong. And isn't it amazing that even today in 2015, this bureaucratic UN empty suit, genocide-enabling clown gets to run around and talk about overpopulation when the whole world's population can sit in Idaho comfortably. And Eldridge and all these previous doomsday population bomb predictors have already been laughed off the scene, so they just repackage it in new wrapping paper and crap it back out to the public. Among many myths and delusional statements that she just made, she's basically suffering from the freeze frame myth, which again is another regressive leftist Achilles heel in their thinking. They assume that all we're going to produce is what we're producing at the moment, which, by the way, is not true. We have a Peace Prize winner, Nobel Peace Prize winner, that revolutionized the way we yield grain, the way that we yielded rice, the way that we yielded corn. It changed the whole world and fed millions of people. If you would have listened to this UN clown, none of that's possible. We're all going to die. By the way, give me more power. It's just infuriating. By the way, the Earth is not a closed system. We get energy from a lot of different places. Sunlight, for example, wind waves, currents, uranium. Again, the only energy that they see is the energy right now. By the way, hundreds and hundreds of years of fossil fuel energy has just been found. Energy being produced at the moment. That little verb changes everything, doesn't it? The question is, who's producing it? Usable energy isn't just sitting in a battery somewhere for this bureaucrat to turn on her microphone. It's not like a first come, first serve. Somebody plops more dinner chow on their plate and the next guy behind him gets screwed. That's not how it is. Somebody's actually producing this. Again, we've covered this. Somebody's taking natural resources and turning them into commodities. Something refining. Somebody's creating. Some places produce and thus buy more energy than other places. The problem isn't that some places are producing and buying ample energy and some places aren't. By the way, it's conservatives. It's people like myself that want the poor to have energy. It's leftists that are trying to keep them from having it because of the carbon footprint that they invent. This stuff's infuriating. We talk about poor third world countries that are basically being left to just being left to just circle and circle like a holding pattern in their squalor. Because Joni Mitchell wants to sing about, give me holes in my apples, give me the birds and the bees. Or the left lets millions of people die of malaria because they ban DDT. And then what do you know? Again, the left turns out to be wrong. Whoopsie daisies. Whoopsie daisies, all these African corpses because of our nonsense. Whoopsies. Uh-oh. Let it have a couple more decades and then we'll start spouting the same nonsense again. What these people are is they're zero-sum, two-dimensional, flatland world inhabitants. That's what they are. The circle can't imagine the three-dimensional world. I'm convinced of it. They can't imagine something called a sphere. You're tempted to think of resources strictly in the framework of a tiny little slice in time and place. And that's narcissism, and that's basically what the left consists of. But there's many dimensions. There's time and there's human. The most important dimension in economics, especially in regards to resources, human creativity, and we've been over that. Change over time. Free markets over time. Human knowledge, creativity builds upon itself. That's why we're not still rubbing sticks together for heat. By the way, again, is it not amazing these people get to call themselves progressives? And they can talk about change and hope and then pull the reins back on everything that's wonderful about humanity. By the way, it's kind of fun, I think, to imagine if there wasn't a big, fat, ineffective, regressive government, how quickly, the resources of the future, what they could be. It's just amazing. You can only guess what will replace oil, but when it becomes too expensive. By the way, we won't run out of it. It'll just become too expensive. It could be fission reactors, uranium rods, by the way. Nuclear power right now is amazing. The left opposes it, of course. Safer than the alternatives that we have. France runs 70% of their energy as a nation on nuclear power. We run nuclear subs across the globes on nuclear power. Some people predict that if something happens stateside, those subs would be able to continue to survive for millennia. It's kind of a crazy thought, actually. I like to think about what would it be? What could it be? Could it be the cold from seawater? You're harnessing atomic reaction. You could have energy-rich fission. You could have something much more exotic. This is not my idea. I've heard this before, but I think this is kind of clever, where you have some sort of like paint. You could just paint something on any surface, and it'll be able to capture usable energy from the sun. I mean, that's Star Trek-y, but who knows? And my point is that if you turn the free market on it, the free economy loose, we have far more reason to have wide-eyed wonder and to be excited about it. And if we don't, we're going to have disaster, because big, fat governments bring disaster, and that's just a fact. Well, it's been a long podcast, but refuting leftist myth with substance takes time, and I hope that's what you got here. I went over case by case by case why they're wrong, why they're emotive, why they're exploiting you, and I hope that you share this podcast, share this research, share this. I want to advise a great book. This guy's great. J.W. Richards, Money, Greed, and God, Why Capitalism is the Solution and Not the Problem. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, we got to fight back with substance. I know it's not as sexy as TMZ slandering, but if you are serious-minded, you got to seriously think about this stuff. And when you do, you stop emoting. And when you stop emoting, you start voting conservative. Be a people of great fortitude, character, and above all, courage.
There is nothing wrong with the planet. Nothing wrong with the planet. The planet is fine. Deceit to think that somehow we're a threat, that somehow we're going to put in jeopardy this beautiful little blue-green ball that's just floating around the sun. The planet has been through a lot worse than us. Been through all kinds of things worse than us. Been through earthquakes, volcanoes, plate tectonics, continental drift, solar flares, sunspots, magnetic storms, the magnetic reversal of the poles, bombardment by comets and asteroids and meteors, worldwide floods, tidal waves, worldwide fires, erosion, cosmic rays, recurring ice ages, and we think some plastic bags and some aluminum cans are going to make a difference?
Hey folks, tonight I want to talk about global warming. Now, the world is flat and hot society is growing increasingly hysterical, and that indeed is causing me to sweat a little. In the last month or so, I've heard suggestions that those skeptical of Al Gore's spiritual crisis are deniers. And one good way to serve the planet would be to have one less kid. I've also read that mankind is, quote, a virus, and human beings are, quote, the AIDS of the earth. Global warming is officially becoming creepy, and I can't tell yet if it's fascistic or fetishistic, but it's kind of like piercing or tattoos. I don't even want to get one because I see how hooked people are, and it spooks me. I just find it odd. We've come to a point in history where if I don't concede that Manhattan will be completely submerged in the year 2057, I'm thought to be a delusional contrarian by some of my more zealous fellow citizens. I'm sorry, Angst Squad, but if we commissioned a public works project, let's call it the Manhattan Project, and tried our hardest to submerge Manhattan in the next 50 years, we couldn't pull it off, mainly because it wouldn't be environmentally sound, and you guys would hang it up in the permitting process. Simply put, I can't worry about the Earth right now because I'm too worried about the world. Why can't I take terrorism as seriously as Al Gore takes global warming? There are times you think that liberals only fear car bombs if they have leaky exhaust systems. And why am I constantly beaten over the head with the phrase, quote, the delicate balance of nature? Am I the only one who watches Animal Planet? Every time I turn it on, I see some demented harp seal chucking penguins down his gullet like they were maitre d' Tic Tacs. To me, nature always appears more unbalanced than Gary Busey with a clogged eustachian tube. Listen, the weather is just like Hillary's explanation of her war vote. We just don't know, do we? We're hit or miss on next Tuesday's weather, much less the year 2057. Relax. We'll replace oil when we need to. American ingenuity will kick in, and the next great fortune will be made. It's not pretty, but it is historically accurate. We need to run out of oil first, and that's why I drive an SUV, so we run out of it more quickly.
The naysayers, they're being marginalized.
Boy, you insist on flying right in the face of scientific fact, don't you?
I don't believe in global warming. Come and sing it now. I don't believe in global warming. Come and sing with me. Ooh.
We're going to have to work on those folks.
Scientific fact?
There are atmospheric rays which control bodily motions. Now, if a person containing negative or hexam qualities gets between you and them rays, he creates a static that jars any successful motion into an unsuccessful motion and jinxes you. And that is a scientific fact.
And that is also the biggest crock of nothing I ever heard.
The climate has always changed. The climate is changing. The climate will continue to change. Humankind does not have the power to do very much about it, and we would be arrogant to assume that we can. In every opinion poll, now a majority of those polled say they do not believe that global warming is significantly or dangerously caused by humankind.
He played on our fears. Those are the feelings.
Join the Courage Culture. À Broclo, les productions